requirement at the moment to organize this kind of a session. And it's a timely session because we have been getting a lot of inquiries with respect to the debt moratorium offered by the government. Well, CA Sri Lanka has been having discussions with mainly People's Bank and Bank of Ceylon to see the possibility of obtaining some concessionary banking facilities for our members. I think our discussions are successful. I'm sure these two gentlemen representing People's Bank and Bank of Ceylon would be able to break the news to our membership today. Without taking much time, so I would like to leave the discussion over to Mr. Russell Fonseca. Russell, would you like to share your screen and start the presentation? Russell?
Hello. Hello. Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah, Russell, over to you. You can start your presentation now.
No, only thing I couldn't upload my presentation. So
right.
I thought that it will be a discussion. Maybe I will start from when the, we'll go by the normal discussion because I couldn't upload my presentation.
All right. Russell, in that context, would you like to shed light on the salient aspects of the circulars issued by the central bank on the debt moratorium and the working capital loan at a concessionary rate?
I couldn't get I couldn't hear you, Tishan. Can you repeat it again?
Yeah. So can you just start giving by an introduction to the circulars issued by the central bank on the debt moratorium, the technical aspects of it, so it will provide the platform for us to start the discussion.
No, okay, right. Thanks. Anyway, thanks, Tishan. This sorry for this technical fault. Also, I must thank the team at CA Sri Lanka for organizing this web seminar. I think this is the most important topic today. Without taking much time, I'll focus on this subject, what is COVID-19 relief package. Under this relief package, there are some concession given to the COVID-19 affected in individual and businesses. Provide relief measures to assist our businesses and individuals who are adversely affected due to COVID-19 outbreak. So one direction is number 4 of 2020, dated 24th March 2020. That is relating to measures to assist the COVID-19 affecting businesses and individuals. I hope you can hear me, Tishan.
Yeah, we can.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
The other circular is number 5 of 2020, dated 27 March 2020. That is for the rupees 20 billion 6-month refinance facility to support COVID-19 hit businesses, and also including employment individuals. In addition to these two circulars, I think Director of Regional Development Division of the CBSL, he issued another 3 operational guidelines in this regard. So under these guidelines and the circulars, they have identified who are the participant bank for this facility. They have selected commercial bank, all commercial bank, and the specialized bank, that is a normal savings bank, and also finance companies and the leasing companies. So these are the 4 eligible banks or are the and also individuals. So I will take you first. What are the relief measures that they have taken for the benefit of the people of Sri Lanka? First one is the debt moratorium, that is postponing our debt repayments. Second one is the working capital loans, and the third one is the investment loan. So those are the major 3 items that they have given under this relief package. So effective date is, this concession is normally 25th March 2020 for this starting point. Then at the same time, I'll tell you if there is any request for this concession, you need to apply before 30th April 2020. You can make your request through electronic media using email or WhatsApp or Viber. I think right now, I think all our people, they know it, or rather through email, and what are the other addresses that they can send those requests. Then now I think we look at this who are the eligible borrowers for this concession or this package. Basically, 4 eligible borrowers they have identified. One is the companies that are engaged in tourism, export related businesses, and any related suppliers to about that is for the tourism and export related companies. That is the number one. That is number one set of organization. Number 2 is SMEs. I'll give the details later. Number 2 is SMEs. Then the number 3 is self-employment and the individuals. Also, there are some concessions for the foreign currency. Tourism industry. Any company engaged in any tourism activity are eligible for this concession. But at the same time, there should be some impact on this COVID-19 to the respective institution. Under that category, there another company, another organization is export-related business. Any direct or indirect export-related businesses, including apparel, IT, tea, spices, plantations, are eligible for these concessions. And number 3 under this first category, that is related logistic suppliers to the above two industry, that is tourism and the export related business. So that is the main category of these eligible borrowers. The second borrower is the engage in the following sector. Those are eligible for this concession, but there is a condition there. The companies who are engaged in the following sectors, but their turnover for the last year should be less than rupees 1 billion. Then they are treated as SMEs. So what are the sectors that they should engage? They should either engage in manufacturing, services, agriculture, including processing, the constructions, any value additions, trading businesses, including domestic pharmaceutical suppliers. Those are the SME companies that comes under SME category. Then the number 3 is the self-employment and individuals, and also foreign currency earners, maybe individual or corporate. They are also eligible for this facility. Then, if you take we'll take this. What are the there are some other individuals as well. So when I go to respect to benefits, then I'll explain those companies as well. Then we look at what are the moratorium available for these people. So that moratorium, debt moratorium. So basically, those are our business related term loan. Those are term loans. Then you get this leasing. Then you get PODs, TODs. Then the trade finance facilities, and also pawning. So those are the type of facilities that will be eligible for these concessions. Then the moratorium. Moratorium for the respective respective borrowers. So, as I said, the first borrower is the companies engaged in tourism, direct and indirect exporters, and the related party, related logistics service suppliers. Basically, those March, basically up to September, it goes up to September. Then the other SME categories with annual turnover less than 1 billion, they are also entitled for the 6-month moratorium for those facilities, and also self-employment business also eligible for 6-month moratorium. At the same time, there are another set of moratorium, that is, if you take private sector non-executive employees, those comes under individual category. Private sector non-executive employees, normally they get 2 months moratorium, that is up to 30th May 2020. Then there is another moratorium. It has been given to any person who has taken, but it should be less than 1 million. If it is less than 1 million, he also entitled. He is also, so even though they don't come under any category of the previous these facilities, they are getting a 3 months moratorium up to 25th from the 25th March 2020. Then so there will be there will be a borrowers who has taken the loan above 1 million, that comes under professionals or there are the pensioners or any customer. So I think there are also 3 months, but it depends on the organization, company credit, individual credit policies. Then there is another one called this leasing. Leasing, I would say there are 3 categories for leasing facilities. Individuals who have taken the lease facilities, or individual companies who have taken lease facilities for the purpose of utilization for hiring or self-employment purposes. Either 3-wheeler or a school van, lorry, small transport vehicle, the buses, taxis. If someone has taken that kind of facility for those vehicles, he will be given a 6-month moratorium from 25th March. Then under lease, there's another one called these lease facilities obtained for any type of facilities obtained for solely for the business purposes by the eligible borrower mentioned in above this. I told you, tourism, that SMEs and other people, if they have taken any lease facilities, they also can get a moratorium, that for the 3 months moratorium. That is for the period given in that respective. That is normally 6-month moratorium. Then any type of lease facilities, the aggregate amount is less than ₹1 million. That is any type of lease facility. Then you get the 3 months moratorium from March 2020. So those are the major moratorium given. In addition to this, this bond and the funding advances, they have given a moratorium up to September 30th. Then the POD, if you have taken the permanent overdraft from the banks, then you are entitled for up to 30th September. Then any temporary overdraft, only the 2 months more extension is given. That is up to May, before May, up to 30th May, the 2 months moratorium is given. But during this 2 months period, interest will be calculated at the rate of 13%. I think in the outset, those are the major moratorium given under this scheme. So when I come to the question and answers, I will give a more detailed Shan.
Okay, thank you very much, Russell. So I've been getting messages through chat box that some of you couldn't hear properly. Don't worry, we'll be sharing Mr. Russell Fonseca's presentation after the session. So we will email you. Also, if you want to go into the technical nitty-gritties, we'll be sharing the two circulars issued by the central bank and the guideline issued by the central bank on those two circulars, right? So you will be getting altogether 4 documents: Mr. Fonseca's presentation, 2 circulars, and the guideline. Once you go through these documents, you will be able to get a better understanding about the technical aspect of the moratorium offered to the community. So with this now, let's move on to the question and answer session. I'll be starting with Mr. Rajapaksa. Mr. Rajapaksa, can you hear me? Mr. Rajapaksa? Mr. Rajapaksa?
Yeah, I'm connected.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Right.
Yeah, now as the chairman of one of the largest banks in the country, so as far as you think, what should be the role of the bankers in this? Did you hear?
I can hear, but I can see reception or the connection is not that clear, but I can see there are a lot of messages also coming. Tishan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation. Yeah, right. Thanks. Thank you very much for the invitation. And yes, being one of the largest commercial banks in this country, especially government-owned bank. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Okay, right. Thank you very much. And there are large amount of, the responsibilities lie on banks. Let me talk about the People's Bank being the government-owned entity. And you need to understand that we have got fairly large number of stakeholders. So number one, we are totally owned by the government. Obviously, government is a stakeholder. And then you have customers, you have depositors, you have borrowers. Now, mainly we may think about only borrowers this time, but it's not only borrowers, because there are depositors that we need to make sure that their interest also looked after. Then you also have interbanks, you have international banks, and you have your staff and regulators, and all these people's, the interest have to be looked after, which is very important. I may be audible. Can you hear me, Tishan?
Yes, we can hear you.
Tishan, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Hello. All right. Until Mr. Rajapaksa gets on back, Ramesh, are you there? Ramesh?
I'm there. Yeah. I'm there.
Yeah. Hi, Ramesh.
Right.
Ramesh, now as a banker representing the private sector, How do you look at this? Because, you know, when we speak to our colleagues, sometimes we get this feedback, well, private bank seems to be not playing a proactive role in this scenario, etc. I don't know whether there's real merit in this. So how do you look at this debt moratorium?
Uh, I think we need to all understand that when you come to SMEs, 52% of the entire GDP of Sri Lanka is contributed by SMEs, and about 45% of employment is also in the SME sector. So I think the entire debt moratorium is to protect and to make sure the contribution of the SME sector is there in the economy. I mean, that's how important this SME sector is. And I think if you look at projections at the start of the year, we were projecting a 4.5% to 5% GDP growth in Sri Lanka. Now the latest review of numbers, the ADB has pushed it down to about 2.5%. So that you're looking at significant slowdown of economic activity. You're looking at actual economic activity now slowing down over the next few months. And this sector really having a huge impact in itself. So I think if you really look at how the moratorium has been targeted, it really looks after all SMEs. All SMEs are entitled to as long as their revenue is below 1 billion, is entitled to a 6-month debt moratorium. That is, they just have to write to any bank and they will not have to pay their interest or capital for the next 6 months.
Ramesh, I'm interrupting. SME in any industry is eligible for this?
Oh. SMEs in the identified, there are 7 industries, but if you look at the industries, it's broad as much as manufacturing, trading, services. I mean, if you look at those 3 sectors alone, it encompasses almost all sectors. So I'm saying almost every SME would be entitled to it. And what I'm trying to get at is, I think the idea is, I think everybody understands that there is going to be less economic activity over the next couple of months. And I think, I mean, if you look at the bank, I mean, you asked whether the private banks are doing it differently. Again, Direction 4 and Direction 5 of 2020 is applicable to all banks, not only the government banks, the private banks, even the foreign banks. I mean, anybody who makes a request, we have to adhere to it. I mean, there is no differentiation saying, you know, you can give this and you can't give that. Any eligible person under Direction 4 or Direction 5 is eligible to all the benefits in any bank across the board.
Ramesh, have you got any idea how this 50 billion rupees divided amongst the banks and the branches?
Yeah. So I mean, that came out with the Saubhagya refinance scheme, which was issued about a couple of days ago. What they've done is they've prioritized the sectors to say the priority sector is the guys who need working capital of 2 months below 10 million. That now is your priority sector. Then the next priority sector is between 10 and 25 million. And the third priority sector is above 25 million. And for above 25 million, banks need to first obtain pre-approval of central bank before making an application. So that too shows that they are really trying to support the smaller person. The first priority being up to 10 million, next priority sector being up to 25 million.
All right, it's very clear, Ramesh. Now, there's now Mr. Rajapaksa's, I think he just got disconnected. So I had to throw more questions to you and Russell. Now, Ramesh, now if you take the credit risk of the facilities offered, who really bears the credit risk? Now, before I go into that, when I did my analysis with respect to moratoriums offered by other countries, I noted, say, for instance, Denmark, 80% of the credit risk owned by the government. UK, you have similar provisions. New Zealand, you have similar provisions. So in the Sri Lankan context, who really bears the credit risk, and what are the concerns that you have as a banker?
So in this moratorium scheme, the entire credit risk is going to be borne by the banks. So the government is not underwriting any component of the credit risk. So again, I mean, I had a chat with one of our lenders in Germany, and he was saying that in that scheme, 90% of the risk is guaranteed by the government, whereas 10% of the risk is taken on by the bank. But in Sri Lanka, in terms of the 50 billion, the entire 100% credit risk would need to be undertaken by the bank. So that's something in the refinance scheme. So it's cheap funds that central bank gives to us, which we lend out at 4%. But in terms of a default, that entire risk would be with the banks.
All right. So, Ramesh, this 4% interest over 6 months, is it completely waived off, or it would be added when the settlements are done? Or how does it work?
So what happens is in the initial 6 months, there is no charge that happens, but there is a 4% that calculates. And then you have another 18 months to repay. And then that adds on in terms of the balance 18 months payment of capital and interest.
All right. Okay. I'm getting bombarded with questions. I see not hundreds, maybe thousands of questions coming in. Okay, I'll select some questions. Mr. Rajapaksa, are you back? Did you manage to get connected? Russell, are you there?
I'm here. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Tishan.
Tishan, I'm also connected. I'm Sujeeva.
All right. Okay. No, you were, I mean, the last part of what you said was not clear. Would you like to again repeat?
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is, the banker's role is absolutely important, because now we need to understand, especially learned people who take part in this session. The banker is not only there just to lend money, but of course there are a large amount of stakeholders now, especially People's Bank being one of the largest state-owned banks. We need to look after the interest like any other private bank. In the meantime, there are customers and depositors mainly, because depositors also will sometimes feel, look here, when you are going to give all these moratoriums, what's going to happen? How are the banks going to survive? Absolutely, which is absolutely important. And apart from that, you have your staff, regulators, interbanks, and all that. There are so many people. What we do now here is, as a state-owned bank, yes, we have a huge amount of responsibilities, especially to look after the interest of the government. Why? Because government at this moment need large amount of money. Not that we are just pumping money, but we need to lend money to state-owned enterprises, like especially about pharmaceutical corporations and CWE for essential items and things like that. In the meantime, we have to carry out the instructions given by the central bank, and there are certain restrictions imposed on certain foreign currency transactions, and especially limiting of opening of LCs and things like that for unnecessary, like the importing of vehicles and non-essential items. And we have done all that. I think Russell and the other gentleman spoke about the moratorium. Which is important. Moratorium also, just to take you through, because things are changing every other day, because now yesterday, yes, there was, in fact, I heard that today there's going to be another explanation, and things like that, because which is very important. Tishan, if you need any specific areas, and especially we also need to make sure that we maintain our liquidity, which is important. The government really came into the the effect through Ministry of Finance and the central bank by reducing SRR statute reserves by 1%, and few other the measures. As a result, I believe the bankers have additional funds about give entire facilities to the customer base. So in that sense, I think we must appreciate the fact that central bank has got involved at the right time, and will continue to do that. And as a state state-owned bank, we also have done our part by making sure that all the customers and the people who are at home are very much comfortable by taking our mobile ATMs and all the other equipments at their doorstep. Probably all would have seen. And we also kept all our branches open, unlike maybe some of the banks I have seen that they did not. But whereas People's Bank kept all the banks open, even last Sunday we were there because we had to pay for the certain other payments through about 227 branches. But not that we have forgotten about the risk factors of our staff. We are very much vigilant about this, but as a state-owned bank, which the service is utmost important to our customers, and we have been doing it, and we'll continue to do that. Unless you have any specific questions, Tishan, we can. I would be very happy to take over.
Yeah. Now I like to pose this question to all three panelists. Now, based on your experience, I mean, referring to the number of applications that you have been getting over last several days, do you think that the 50 billion rupee reserved by the government is adequate to support the industries?
Tichan, anyway, I'll take this because although I'm the non-executive chairman, I get involved day to day. Even today, I left the bank around 1 o'clock, and I can see the number of applications, enormous. The issue here is our customers should understand about how would they look at this. I can see some of the customers. My GM has shown me some of the applications or the request letters. Unbelievable. Because they really don't look at, when they look at working capital per se, Tishan, what you and I have learned about the working capital is not the working capital I think the bankers are looking at. Because now working capital, if you want to stock your raw material, all that, will not happen here. Because the government has categorically told, you cannot lay off your employees. You cannot. Right, so that means that government expect you to pay their salaries. That's what you are given 4%, and also you can't stop your production. Since we both are in the service sector, we can't stop our service. You need to continue to do that. Okay, so coming back to your question, I believe there will be hundreds and millions of applications, and some people, without knowing that they can't. Earlier, there was no condition to say that you can only go to one bank. But now, although even if you are dealing with so many banks, you can only get this concession only from one bank, which is important. Otherwise, you are going to might misuse. So it's important. I believe People's Bank might get about 7 to 8 billion. That's how I have worked out. But still, large number of customers may not be happy. As Ramesh said, because now up to 10 million, now 20, up to 10 million, 10 to 25, and about 25. Because and probably might get fewer more circulars. I think we will restrict our disbursements to areas and people. So that part, capital, I want to talk a little bit. But let's take it later because your question is something else or which I have answered.
Right. Russell, what is your viewpoint on that?
No, even the same thing as Mr. Rajapal said, that there is a huge demand during this period only for working capital. But as Mr. Rajapal correctly said, that the customers should understand what is the government intention during this period. As he said, if you really look at this circulars, it will definitely say this is for the payment of wages, salaries and wages for the 2 months, and also for this other the expenses like this bills. Utilities, some daily expenses. So some of the customers, they thought that this using this thing they can invest, rather they can expand their business. It is prohibited. And also, Ms. Rajapal said that in addition to the salaries and wages and also the utility bills, there are we don't entertain customers who require funds for this material or other inputs material. So if there is a genuine case that they need material on there, we will consider this working capital requirement for material as well. Otherwise, most probably we will be focusing only on the salaries and wages and other utility bills for the 2 months period. But credit demands is very high, as he said, allocate. I think the money that they have allocated to BOFC, we also heard some amount. I don't think we will be able to satisfy all the customers.
All right. Ramesh, anything to add on to this?
No, I mean, I also would like to say that if each bank would get an allocation, and that's how they will work with the 50 billion. So Ceylon also, we've been told unofficially, it's about 2.5 billion that we'll get. So it's how we allocate this money to the amount of applications that come in. So it's not an unlimited amount of funds that is there. Each bank will be given a certain amount of allocation, depending on the market share they have in the market. And then it's up to that bank. As I said, there are 3 priority sectors to prioritize based on the 3 sectors and then pass it down.
All right.
So what I want to say is there is a limited amount of resources. I think that's something that we need to really understand and keep in mind. And then that's how the allocation of that would flow down to the SME and the individuals.
Okay. So now, suppose if a particular person, it could be a company or an individual, self-employed individual, if the particular party is listed in the crib, are they not eligible to go for the concessions under this scheme, Ramesh?
They are. It doesn't really matter. I mean, crib in the circular, in the eyes of the circulars, crib is irrelevant. They both, whether you're performing or non-performing, both are eligible.
All right. Now can Russell?
Yes.
Yeah, Russell. Now several questions we got, but then the clarification provided with the guideline issued by the central bank. Now, can one party apply for more than one loan? Now, say if a particular party is dealing with more than one bank, can the particular party apply for these concessions from more than one bank?
No, that he should go to his main bank and he should make only one applications. Also, we have to get some kind of undertaking from the customer that he has not taken any facilities from another bank.
All right. So how it is managed practically? Any correspondence would be happening, or how does it happen?
No, I can't hear you.
Now,
can you
how
repeat
does it happen practically? How the banks are going to manage it?
No, we can get the information of the customers from the crib. What are the banks that he is having this facility? So if you have any doubt, that we can check with the other bank, that we can do.
Right. Okay. Then
also, Tishan, he will have to do a self-declaration to say that he has not applied with any other banks.
Other bank, no, as per the circular, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let me now take up some of these questions. One question is, will the interest for the deferred period will be charged from the customer or not? Because as per the Moratorium scheme, neither the installment amount nor the number of installments can be increased. Is this correct? And does it mean that no interest charged for that deferred period? Russell, would you like to take up that question?
Yeah, can you repeat it again, Richard? I don't.
Will the interest for the deferred period be charged from the customer or not? Because I heard that as per the moratorium scheme, neither the installment amount nor the number of installments can be increased. Is this correct? And does it mean that no interest charged for that deferred period?
No, there's no, during this deferred period, there will be interest proportion. that interest, there will be, I think so far we have the CBSL yet to issue the instruction on how to recover those interest. But from the bank side, we came up with the 4 options. That is, we will continue the customer the existing installment, but there will be some extension of his tenure of loan period. Maybe it might add another couple of another few installment at the end of the loan period. That is one option. Or either we can increase the installment to recover the interest over a period of time. Then the other third option is the customer can pay the interest at the end of the moratorium period, or we can consider a loan which can be payable over a 2-year period for the interest portion. Those are but in short, customer has to pay interest during this moratorium period.
All right. So there's another question. Ramesh, I would pose this question to you. Is there any condition states that priority should be given to small entities who can manage their working capital with less than 10 million rupees?
So the new Saubhagya refinance directive that came out, earlier there was really no priority sectors identified. In terms of sectors, they don't talk of sectors, but they talk of a quantum of refinance. So they have prioritized up to 10 million being the first priority. Once you exhaust that list, then you look at the next being the 10 to 25. And before when you make a registration for refinance, you have to pre-check with the CBSL in terms of the refinance scheme, whether they are okay to take anything above 25. So that's the thing that was released about a couple of days ago in terms of how this 50 billion refinance funds would be in terms of allocated amongst the people, or in terms of how they should be allocated in terms of sending it out to the entities.
Okay. Russell, now if you take the IT industry, the BPO industry, really they may not have securities to go for such funding facilities. So in this context, how do you look at the availability of security of the customers?
That is depend on the company's position. When we do the evaluation of the facilities to any organization, first one we look at is the customer's cash flow. If you get a strong cash flow, there is no issue of the securities, and also customer. There are other criteria that we are looking at when we consider a facility. So basically, if your customer's cash flow is a little bit rather not strong, then we might look at for their security. So even the IT or whatever the industry, we will ask for securities if the customer's credit history and his cash flow is not okay with us with our credit policies.
Okay. So Mr. Rajapaksa, my next question is to you. This 30th April cutoff date, is it extendable? Because you are a person who's closely dealing with, associating the government, especially
it might
especially the rural.
Jishan, it might get extended, but okay. I know it might, but still you can't take it for granted. When I spoke to Central Bank today, they gave me some kind of indication there's a possibility, but that doesn't mean that we should wait, because I think this closing date has been widely known now. So and also the bankers have given enough options for you to apply. It's not only just sending a mail or rather letter. You can send a letter, you can send a mail, you can WhatsApp, you can use any other electronic media. Make sure that your branch is basically informed. Then later you can, because it has been relaxed up to that extent. So therefore, nobody can say, look here, I'm unable to apply. I hope you understand. So
Yes.
therefore, in a way, we should not extend also, because here there's a large amount of unbelievable amount of applications coming in. So everyone should take their understand their responsibility and apply. Sometime, because of the fact that we thought that the curve is going to be flat, and about few days ago we thought that okay, we are going to probably today we would have been in our offices had everything gone in a manner that the the government expected, but it turned the other way. So therefore, there's a possibility. There's a possibility, but I strongly advise my learned people who are here, don't wait till last moment. Sooner the better, because they need to understand it is not the bank who is going to select. It is the central bank, because we have to get all these applications registered with the central bank, regional rural development department. So then they will allocate a kind of a reference number. That is very important. So I think that also should be known to our learned, the participants.
Yeah, it's good information. There's a question, Ramesh, would you like to take it? The question is, should all the individuals have to apply for 3 months moratorium on leases and loans, or will it apply as default without any request?
No, we are going on the basis that you need to apply because there are people who are not affected, who are salaried people, who the standing orders come in and we recover the loan installment. So the direction also clearly says it should be on a request basis. So we are going on the basis, but you just have to make a simple request. I mean, in us, you just go onto our website and there is a template. It's about a 6-liner. You just fill it and submit, and the request goes, and you get a reference number, and that's all you need to do. And then the bank will take care of the balance. I mean, we'll make sure that you won't have to pay over the next 3 months. But that request, so we are purely going on a request-based deferment. It's not that the entire portfolio is given the deferment. It's on a request-based deferment that we are going with.
Right. So there's another good question. I do not expect the hospitality industry to pick up for at least another 12 months. So how do you cater to their requirements? That's the question. Russell, would you like to take it up?
The first part of the question I couldn't. I didn't hear. Tishan, sorry. Can you repeat it?
It's with respect to the tourism industry.
Right.
The
again issue.
Yeah.
With
the question is,
right.
I do not expect the hospitality industry to pick up for at least another 12 months. So how do you look at this as a banker? So this is the moratorium is up to 30th September.
Right.
So,
no, initially this overall, Tishan, this in what we are doing today is to give some moratorium, because of it is giving some concession to our existing borrowers. But only thing we know that they are so far what will happen during next 2 months, what is the economic impact. So anyway, today, even though we grant this concession to our customers, the moratorium customers, we will later on we will have a look at these industries and have some kind of restructuring or in these facilities to suit their expected cash flows. Maybe it may take another few months. After that, we will have to relook at these customers' cash flows and then restructure or other rescheduling these facilities.
right. So
Tishan, you may remember that I'm Sujiva. Tishan, you may remember that after 21st April, the attack, also government came out with various moratorium kind of concessions. So likewise, although there's kind of the time limit given, I'm certain that depending on the the situation from the other parts of the world, these could be extended. But so far, no decisions have been taken. But that has to happen.
all right. So here somebody is now very optimistic. He's asking, can you give some details about the investment loans? So there's a particular provision in the circular. Ramesh, would you like to shed light on this? Maybe
Yeah, so the investment loan needs to have a very strong business case. And also, I think with COVID-19 now, and we probably may see the situation getting worse. So the business case needs to show a strong payback. And I think a lot of investments that are being made are being pushed back because they don't see the quick payback in the next 6 months, 12 months. Investments they have a tendency of getting pushed back because you can probably make the investment 6 months down the line because you might not have stronger paybacks in the first 6 months. But yes, there is provision. You can go up to 300 million and the rate is AWPLR plus 1.5. So the rate is confined. But I think what you may need to convince the banks is the strong business case to do that kind of an investment in this scenario. That said, you could, and if that is the case, there is provision to grant a loan at AWPLR plus 1.5% under this scheme, up to 300 million. But I think bankers would probably ask as to justify and show the cash flows and as to why you want to really go ahead with that investment during this time.
All right. Ramesh, my next question is also to you. Now, the starting date of this moratorium is 25th March. Loan that had been classified as an NPL as of 25th March. So how can they apply for this moratorium? Are they eligible, or if it is so, how can they proceed with this?
So we took up the position that since the circular came out on the 25th, we took anything that was performing as of the 24th, qualifying under the performing section of the circular, and anything that was non-performing as of the 24th would come under the non-performing category of the circular. So there are really two sections of this circular, one addressing performing loans and the deferment of 6 months and on the working capital. But there is also another section which looks after non-performing loans in terms of certain waivers that they are given and a 3-month period to repay it back. So in such a situation, they would come under the non-performing section of the circular.
Well, now let's come to one of the interesting areas, the concessions or the loans granted to self-employed people. Now, Mr. Rajapaksa, would the chartered accountants fall into that category, particularly practitioners? So I've been getting a lot of questions to my personal phone also, apart from the chat box. So,
are you talking about this 4% loan or the normal loan from a bank?
Number one, this 4% working capital loan.
Yeah, 4% working capital, yes, you can apply. Professionals can apply. There are no issue about that.
So a person who's running, say, a professional practice, or a person who's having a professional practice can apply for this particular loan.
Of course, you can apply, but you need to understand, especially when professional accountants apply, they should know about the rules of the game and make sure that you apply only for the required amount based on these circulars. And you can't simply say that you don't know circulars.
Yeah.
Unlike a normal other businessman or the mudalari.
Right. Russell?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, in a scenario where an employee loses a job, so what kind of relief the particular person can have under this scheme due to redundancies? Russell?
Hello. Yeah. Hello. No, initially, he will be given a 3 months moratorium for the facilities, right? Then the debt moratorium. Then after that, we'll have to do the further calculation to look at his funding requirement and his future employability. So based on that only we will decide. But initially, this moratorium will be given to him. 3 months moratorium will be given to him.
When you say 3 months moratorium, is it the 1 month salary into 3 months? So how does it happen? Hello. Yeah.
Russell? Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. No. 3 months means the moratorium means that we will defer his loan repayment.
Right.
Only the loan repayment, not the reimbursement of his salary.
Not the reimbursement of salary, which means if a particular person has obtained loans and if he or she is struggling to service the loans, then that part would be covered. But then
Yes.
the if a person has lost the job, the day-to-day living expenses for 3 months, that part is not covered.
No, that part is not covered.
All right. So there's another good question. Will there be any uniformity among all banks in relation to recovery of interest during the moratorium period? Or would the banks be doing it, according to the individual bank's policy framework? How does it happen? Is there understanding amongst the banks or?
No, it's very clear when it comes for this 4%, the working capital loan obviously needs 2 months, 2 years. And as Ramesh said, okay, either you can give 6 months grace period, but whatever it is, you need to recover that within 2 years. That where the working capital loan is concerned, where every one of us are interested in that. Right. I believe that other bankers also will have the same sentiments.
Russell, Ramesh, are you on the same page?
Yes. So even during the moratorium period, I mean, not specific to the working capital loan, even during the 6 months, at the moment, how it stands is that the banks would keep charging the contracted interest rate, even though during that 6 months payment does not come in. So what will happen is it will add on at the back, and the repayments would get lengthened further down. So though we use the term moratorium, there is interest that accrues during the non-payment of either the 3 months or the 6 months.
Yeah, there's another question. Can we recognize the income during the moratorium period and recover interest later? So I think we have already answered that question. If someone is eligible to lease and loan concessions and apply for working capital loans, are they also entitled to apply for investment loans?
These are two different things, Tishan. Yeah. Now, one should understand that investment loan is nothing to do with central bank refinance. It is totally from the bank's funds. So therefore, I think these are two different things we are talking about. Still, one is eligible. Simply because you have applied for working capital does not mean that you are not eligible for investment loan. As long as you meet those criteria, what Ramesh said about this 300 million investment, the business expansion loan, yes, certainly one can obtain that loan.
Right. So, I mean, the risk that is really borne by the government is this risk in the sense the burden undertaken by the government is this 4% interest portion on working capital loan, isn't it?
It's not 4% actually. Government charges 1%, whereas bankers can keep 3%. But the responsibility of the repayment of refinance loan is with the respective bank.
Yes, credit risk is with the bank.
With the bank.
Right. So we have been allocated actually only 1 hour for the session. Niroshi?
Yes, Tishan.
Are you there? Can we take up more questions? So
yes, we can go for a few more questions.
Right. How does the penal interest get reduced? If there has been penal interest charged in the past, is that amount waived off?
Russell? No, I think penal interest is waived off. We cannot charge penal interest during this moratorium period.
What about the personal loan taken by pledging a fixed deposit? This concession is this concession applicable to them even?
Yes, even for the cashback securities, this concession is eligible.
Okay. Now, all right. So Niroshi?
Yeah, Tishan, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So there's a comment to say, since the government bears no credit risk, so obviously the banks will be looking for securities, so which is obvious. Now the other question.
Tishan, just to, now when you say securities, I think there's a different kind of understanding, but we need to understand security. Even I think as Russell said, even our own cash flow is a security. And also the credibility of the customer itself is a security. That all depend on how you have been dealing with the bank in the past. If you are going to creep, if you are defaulted, and if you have not, paid your dues on time, of course, then you will have an issue. If not, you have been a real good customer who have been paying everything. So then I'm sure the banker will mostly welcome to look at you differently. So that I think we need to understand. You don't have to always look at fixed assets or you have land and building.
Yeah.
Give a strong cash flow for next 6 months, 1 year. That's enough.
What are the obligatory expenses mentioned in the Saubhagya loan scheme? Ramesh, would you like to take up that question?
So it really talks of committed creditors in the sense if you have already committed transactions that you need to pay off, you put them in. You also include your salaries and wages because that's something you need to pay for the next 2 months. You put that in. And then you depend on what the figure is. And if there is more leeway, if you're still in, because there are entities in operation, which means they are essentials, they are supplying food and all that. So in that case, they can also put whatever stocks they need to buy up into that amount. But as I said, that the lower the figure, the better your chances are. Higher the figure, your chances get lower. So I think what people should understand is, I think the idea is to commence economic activity. At this level, as I said, the longer we wait like this, economic activity is not happening. And as a result, people don't have income. So the idea is we want to at least start economic activity. So this is more to get you through the next 2 months and not to just fund yourself or overfund a person. It's just to get through the committed expenses and the salaries and wages. And if possible, okay, a little more for your stocks and for your trading activity. But I think the idea is, as I said, the lower the figure, the better your chances are.
Okay. So what's the maximum repayment period? I think it's clearly given in the
2 years. 2 years with a 6 month grace period. 18 months repayment.
circular talks about waiving of accumulated and unpaid interest of the defaulted installments up to 25th March 2020. What is your explanation on this?
So that is in terms of the non-performing loans. For non-performing loans, there is a formula that applies. If you have paid more than 50% of the initial capital, then there is a 50% waiver of interest. If it's less than 50%, there's a 25% waiver of interest. But that applies to only non-performing loans. So that comes under the non-performing loan section of the circular.
If a company who really deserves to get this loan in the present context and the company wouldn't get listed under the priority list, so how a situation like that would be dealt with?
Tishan, sorry to interrupt. Shall we take this as the last question?
Sure. Yeah, Russell, did you follow me? Did you follow my question? Russell? Can you hear? Russell?
Yep.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah. Russell, now here there's a question. A
Right.
company who really deserves to get listed in the priority list wouldn't finally get listed and get the loan. So how a bank is going to deal with that? You know that particular party is really deserving this loan, but then due to limitation, you all are getting an allocation. You will not be able to allocate funding. So how are you going to deal with that?
No, even though this particular company they are not listed on this, or rather once we finalize these facilities, we have to send it to the central bank and get there's a call out allocation for this particular facility. But if there are there can be a request, there can be because of this some limit. But in that case, that bank will find our own fund. We have our own fund to facilitate these customers, but not at the 4% rate, but maybe at another rate.
All right. Niroshi?
Yes, Tishan.
Yeah, on personal note, now I'm going to ask one last question. So, you know that CA Sri Lanka has written to both People's Bank and Bank of Ceylon, and we are, negotiating some terms for our members, maybe terms going beyond the relief package. First, I would like to ask Mr. Rajapaksa when we can hear the good news, so that we can break.
I thought already would have heard the good news. The
Yeah,
moment that I received the request, and I put two of my DGMs to have finalized it today. But I was expecting that to be negotiated, renegotiated, and further negotiated. I don't know whether those things have been done. It didn't come to me for the final anyway. My both the DGM said, sir, we have finalized with C. I said, okay. I asked whether they are happy. They said, yes, they are happy. So then I'm also happy. So that I think you will get in writing one of these days.
All right. Okay. We have negotiated, and we we are looking forward to at least get the official letter probably tomorrow. Let's see.
Yeah. So you will get it tomorrow first thing in the morning.
Russell, I think in your case, you have written to us.
Yes. Tishan, this from BOC side, these our members, if they are having a professional firm, they are eligible for all these concessions under this package because they come under service category. So therefore, we can extend the concession what they have given to our members. In addition to that, maybe later on, we can consider maybe we will look at the economic position as well. We'll speak to the institute as well, because there are some professionals in Sri Lanka. Their professional bodies are dealing with BOC. So we are dealing with this professional organization, maybe a union, maybe some association. Those people, we deal with this organization, or rather this particular association, and their members are eligible for this personal loan under these schemes, but maybe at very concessional rates, and also very without any because that in our case that those professional bodies they guarantee we can get some kind of guarantee from the professional body because there is a default. So we used to write to those association, and they will look into that facility. In such cases, we will not be very much of looking for securities as well. So maybe even the interest guarantee we can go for members through the institute. Maybe after 3 months down the line.
All right. Okay. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Sujiva Rajapaksa, Mr. Russell Fonseca, Mr. Ramesh Charasekara, thank you very much for your valuable time. And for the participants, there have been some interruptions. We had to deal with the limitations on technology. So apologies if you have encountered any difficulty. However, with respect to the request on the presentation, we will be emailing you the presentation compiled by Mr. Fonseca, along with the 2 circulars and the guidance notes issued by the central bank. And this is so. Thank you very much for your participation, and we are looking forward to get you engaged in further discussions going forward. Have a pleasant.
Thanks, Dishan.
Thanks, Dishan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure to.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.